I was having a pretty good day. Got my hair done at the salon downtown, nothing fancy, just a trim and some layers to frame my face. I'd been putting it off for weeks because of work, but finally managed to squeeze in an appointment. Walking out of there, I felt like a new woman despite the heavy gray clouds that threatened more snow. My name's Monica, by the way. 30 years old, working as a project manager at a marketing firm. Not the most glamorous job in the world, but it pays the bills and I'm good at it. I live alone in a modest one-bedroom apartment on the east side of town. My family situation? Well, that's complicated. I have an older sister, Diane. She's 35, married to Greg, and they have a son, Tyler. He's 6 and a complete handful. Diane's always been the golden child in our family. My parents, Robert and Helen, have never tried to hide the fact that they favor her. Growing up, she got the bigger bedroom, the better Christmas presents, and all the attention. I got used to it, though sometimes it still stings. Anyway, back to that winter day. I was walking home from the salon, admiring my reflection in the store windows. The sidewalks were slick from the melting snow, but I wasn't really paying attention, big mistake. One second I was walking, the next I was airborne. My feet went out from under me, and I landed hard on my right side. The pain was immediate and intense. "Oh my God, are you okay?" A woman rushed over to me, her face creased with concern. I tried to stand up, but the moment I put weight on my right leg, white-hot pain shot through me. "I think I hurt my leg," I gasped. "Don't move," said a man who had also stopped to help. "I think it might be broken." The woman introduced herself as Liz and the man as her husband, Dave. They offered to drive me to the hospital, which was a godsend because there was no way I could have walked or even hobbled to catch a bus. At the hospital, they took x-rays right away. The doctor confirmed what I'd already suspected, a clean break in my tibia, right below the knee. "You're going to need a cast," he told me, showing me the x-ray. "And you'll be off your feet for about 6 to 8 weeks. They put a splint on first, then the cast. The whole process was uncomfortable, but they gave me painkillers that took the edge off. When they were done, I looked down at my new white accessory and sighed. This was going to complicate things. The hospital arranged a taxi to take me home. Getting up to my third-floor apartment was a challenge with the crutches they'd given me, but I managed it eventually, sweaty and exhausted. The first thing I did when I got inside was call work. "Monica, what happened?" my boss, Sarah, asked when I explained the situation. "Slipped on some ice, broke my leg," I said, trying to sound more cheerful than I felt. "Doctor says I'll be out of commission for a while." "Don't worry about the Jenkins project," Sarah assured me, "we'll handle it, just focus on getting better." That was a relief, at least work wasn't going to be a problem. After hanging up, I looked around my apartment and realized just how difficult the next few weeks were going to be. Everything seemed suddenly far away and inaccessible. Even getting myself a glass of water was an ordeal, balancing on one leg while trying not to fall over. I tried to make myself some dinner, but standing at the stove was exhausting. I ended up just eating some crackers and cheese before collapsing on the couch. That's when I remembered I should probably let my parents know what happened. I called them, but no one picked up. Typical. I sent a text instead. "Hey, just wanted to let you know I slipped on ice today and broke my leg. Going to be in a cast for 6 to 8 weeks. I didn't expect much of a response. My parents had never been the nurturing type, at least not with me. But I still felt I should inform them. About 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a reply from my mother. "Monica, you're always so inattentive and clumsy. This is what happens when you don't watch where you're going. We can't visit right now because we're busy with the renovations at Diane's house. Try to be more careful next time. No, are you okay? No, do you need anything? Just blame and excuses." I tossed my phone aside, fighting back tears. I don't know why I expected anything different. They'd always been this way, cold, dismissive, quick to criticize. Still, it hurt every time. I hobbled to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, and somehow managed to get ready for bed. As I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I tried to banish the unpleasant thoughts about my family. Tomorrow would be another day, and I'd figure out how to manage. I always did. I woke up the next morning to the insistent ringing of my phone. My leg throbbed despite the painkillers, and I fumbled for my phone on the nightstand. It was Diane. Great, just what I needed. She didn't even bother with a greeting. Monica, our house is being renovated, so I'm bringing Tyler over to you today. I blinked, still half asleep. Diane, I broke my leg yesterday, I'm in a cast. I shifted painfully in bed, trying to sit up. Yeah, Mom mentioned something about that. Her dismissive tone made my blood boil. But it's not a big deal, you don't need two good legs to babysit. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you serious right now? I can barely move around my apartment. Don't be so dramatic, no one's asking you to play soccer with him or anything. Just sit with him, entertain him, cook his meals, you know he only eats home-cooked food. Cook, I nearly shouted. Diane, I can't stand at the stove. It's painful just to get to the bathroom. The anesthesia has worn off, and my leg hurts like hell. God, you're such an egoist, she spat, and hung up on me. I stared at the phone in disbelief. This was low, even for Diane. She knew I regularly watched Tyler for her. Last time he was here, he'd drawn all over my living room wall with permanent markers, emptied a bottle of dish soap onto my kitchen floor to make it slippery like ice, and tried to flush my jewelry down the toilet to see if it would disappear. And that was when I had two working legs to chase after him. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again, this time it was my mother. Monica, she began in her scolding voice, the one she'd used throughout my childhood. How could you refuse to help your sister? She needs someone to look after Tyler. I cut her off. Mom, are you hearing yourself? I'm at home with a broken leg, I physically cannot chase after a 6-year-old right now. You're just making excuses, you're perfectly capable of watching one little boy, broken leg or not. I was too tired and in too much pain for this. Mom, I'm out of commission for at least a month. Please don't call me with these requests again. I hung up before she could respond and turned off my phone. I needed some peace. Using my crutches, I hobbled to the kitchen. It took me nearly 20 minutes to make a cup of hot chocolate. As I sipped it, I couldn't help feeling sad. Not once had they asked how I was doing or if I needed anything. They only called when they wanted something from me. That evening, my doorbell rang. I made my way slowly to the door, expecting to find Diane there with Tyler in tow, ready to force the issue. Instead, I looked through the peephole and saw my friends Rachel and Jess. I opened the door, confused. What are you guys doing here? Rachel put her hands on her hips. We just found out from Sarah at work that you broke your leg yesterday. Why didn't you tell us? I felt embarrassed suddenly. I didn't want to bother you guys with my problems. Bother us? Jess looked outraged. We're your friends, Monica, that's what we're here for. For a second, I was worried they were actually mad, but then I saw the smile tugging at Rachel's lips. They bustled past me, arms full of grocery bags. We brought enough food to last you a week, Jess announced, heading straight for my kitchen. All ready to eat or just needing to be heated up? I was speechless as I watched them unload containers of soup, casseroles, sandwiches, and salads into my fridge. You guys didn't have to do this, I finally managed to say, my throat tight with emotion. Shut up and sit down, Rachel ordered, though her tone was gentle. We're also going to clean your apartment. So I sat on the couch with my leg propped up while they vacuumed, dusted, and cleaned my bathroom. After they were done, we ordered pizza and watched a movie together. It was the best evening I'd had in a long time. When they left around midnight, Rachel hugged me carefully. Call us if you need anything. Seriously, anything at all. We mean it, Jess added, don't be a hero. After they left, I sat in my clean apartment, surrounded by their thoughtfulness, and realized something. My friends were more family to me than my actual family had ever been. The next week passed slowly. My leg was healing, but I still couldn't walk properly, even around the house. I was getting better at managing with the crutches, though I dropped a lot of things and got frustrated easily. Work had been understanding, letting me do what I could from home. My friends checked in regularly, sometimes bringing food or just stopping by to keep me company. My sister and parents hadn't called again, which was a relief. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. Then, exactly a week after my sister's first call, my phone rang with her number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hey, Monica," she sounded cheerful, which immediately put me on guard. "Diane," I said, neutral. "So, Greg and I are celebrating our 10th anniversary next week," she gushed. "We've decided to go to the Maldives for 2 weeks, isn't that amazing?" "Congratulations," I mumbled, unsure why she was telling me this. "That sounds really nice." "Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Anyway, we're leaving this Sunday, and we've decided not to bother with a babysitter since you're at home anyway. You can watch Tyler for the 2 weeks we're gone." I nearly dropped the phone. "What?" "Diane, I still have a broken leg. I'm not at home anyway. I'm recovering from a serious injury." "Oh, come on, it's been what, 2 weeks? You're fine. Tyler's not a baby, he just needs meals, some entertainment, and a place to sleep." "No," I said firmly, "I can't do it. I'm sorry, but I physically cannot take care of a 6-year-old right now, especially not for 2 whole weeks." She exploded. "You selfish bastard. You're just lying around doing nothing while I need help. You've always been lazy, but this is a new low even for you." I was shocked at her venom. "Diane, I literally broke my leg. Why can't Mom and Dad watch him? They're supervising the renovation of our house," she snapped. "They can't look after Tyler at the same time." The pieces clicked into place. The renovation was more important than me, their injured daughter, and now it was more important than their grandson too. Everything made sense now. "I'm sorry, Diane, but I can't help you," I said firmly. "You'll need to find someone else." "You're ruining everything," she shouted. "We already bought the packages." "That's not my problem," I replied, then hung up before she could say anything else. Almost immediately, my phone buzzed with text messages from her. "You're going to ruin our anniversary trip. We can't get a refund this late. Why are you being so selfish?" I didn't respond to any of them. What was there to say? She wasn't listening to reason. An hour later, my mother called. I considered ignoring it, but decided to get it over with. "Hello? Monica," my mother's voice was shrill with anger. "What is wrong with you? How could you do this to your sister?" "Do what, exactly? Refuse to watch her child while I'm injured? You're sabotaging her anniversary trip with your laziness." I felt my temper rising. "It's not laziness, Mom, it's a broken leg." "Even with a broken leg, you should help your family," she insisted. "Family comes first." That was rich coming from her. Really? Is that why none of you have checked on me since I broke my leg? Is that why no one has offered to help me? There was a moment of silence on the other end. "Those are your problems," she finally said, her voice cold. "Well, then Diane's trip and Diane's child are her problems," I shot back, "not mine. Please don't call me again." I hung up. The next few days were blissfully quiet. No calls from my family, no text messages. I started to think they'd finally gotten the message. I was wrong. Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and my friends usually texted before coming over. Using my crutch, I made my way slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. My heart sank. There stood Diane, Greg, and Tyler. I opened the door but blocked the entrance with my body and crutch. "What are you doing here?" Diane smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She put her hands on Tyler's shoulders and pushed him forward slightly. "We're dropping Tyler off. Our flight leaves tomorrow morning, and we have some last-minute shopping to do." I stared at them in disbelief. "I told you I can't watch him." Greg stepped forward. "Look, Monica, it's just for 2 weeks. We really need this break. And I really need to recover from my broken leg," I replied. "I'm sorry, but no." Diane's face hardened. "You're being ridiculous, it's just a leg." I gestured at my cast. "A broken leg, Diane. I can barely take care of myself, you need to find someone else. Diane's face turned red, we don't have anyone else. Mom and Dad are busy with our renovation. That's not my problem, I repeated, and started to close the door. Greg stuck his foot in the way, you can't just leave us stranded like this. I'm not stranding you, I'm saying no to an unreasonable request. Diane suddenly looked calculating, fine. We'll just leave Tyler here in the hallway. You won't be able to leave him out there. I felt a flash of anger, if you abandon your child on my doorstep, I will call the police. They take child abandonment very seriously. You could lose custody. Her eyes widened in shock, you wouldn't dare. Try me, I said, keeping my voice level. I've told you repeatedly that I cannot care for him. If you leave him anyway, that's abandonment. Tyler began to look scared, clutching his dinosaur backpack tightly. You're ruining everything, Diane cried, tears springing to her eyes. Our anniversary, our trip. I refuse to be manipulated, you're the ones who planned a trip without securing childcare first, that's on you, not me. With that, I slammed the door shut. I heard Diane shriek in outrage from the hallway. You dumb bastard, she screamed, kicking my closed door hard enough to make it shake. I could hear Tyler start crying at his mother's outburst. You'll regret this. I watched through the peephole as they stormed off down the hallway, Tyler struggling to keep up with his mother's angry pace. When they were gone, I leaned against the door, my heart pounding. I'd never stood up to my sister like that before. I hobbled to the kitchen and made myself a cup of hot chocolate to calm my nerves. My hands were shaking as I stirred in the marshmallows. An hour later, my phone started ringing again, my mother, I ignored it. Then my father, I ignored that too. Then a string of text messages from both of them, which I didn't read. Finally, a lengthy message from my mother appeared. Monica, you are a terrible daughter. Your sister is devastated by your selfishness. They decided to go on their vacation anyway and left Tyler with us. Now we are forced to suspend the renovations on your sister's house because we have to look after our grandson. This is all because of you and your selfishness. From this day forward, we don't want any contact with you. You are no longer part of this family. I read the message twice, then let out a laugh that surprised even me. They were cutting me off? That was supposed to be a punishment? I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Without hesitation, I blocked all their numbers, my mother, my father, Diane, and Greg. It was surprisingly easy to tap that block button, like cutting away a tumor that had been growing for years. Next weekend, I got a call from my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. We'd always been close, though we didn't talk often since she lived across the country. Monica, darling, I just heard from your mother that you two aren't speaking anymore. She says you've been very selfish. I sighed, let me guess, she didn't mention that I broke my leg and no one from the family even came to check on me? There was a pause, you broke your leg, when? I told her everything, the accident, my parents' dismissive responses, Diane's demands for babysitting, and finally, the confrontation at my door. Oh, Monica, Aunt Linda said when I finished, I'm so sorry. Your mother just told everyone you refused to help your sister for no reason. This puts things in quite a different light. I figured as much, I said, not really surprised. I'll make sure the rest of the family knows what really happened, she promised. Not that you need to worry about what they think, but I can't stand the thought of your mother spreading lies about you. Thanks, Aunt Linda, I appreciate that. After we hung up, I sat on my balcony, watching the sunset. I thought about the last 2 months and how much had changed. Yes, I'd broken my leg, but in a way, that accident had freed me. It had shown me who truly cared about me and who didn't. After my conversation with Aunt Linda, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Not that I cared much about what extended family thought, but it was nice to know someone was standing up for me. The weeks passed, and my recovery continued steadily. Physical therapy with Marcus became the highlight of my week. He pushed me just enough to make progress without overdoing it. By the end of the second month after the accident, I was walking with only a slight limp. The doctor said I could return to work, though I should still take it easy on the stairs. My first day back at the office was surprisingly emotional. My desk was decorated with welcome back signs, and Sarah had organized a small party with a cake that read "Welcome back, hop along" in blue frosting. "We missed you around here," Jess said, giving me a gentle hug. Rachel handed me a coffee. "The place wasn't the same without you complaining about the break room coffee." I laughed. "Well, it's still terrible." Getting back into my work routine felt good. The Jenkins project had been completed without me, but there were new challenges waiting, and I was eager to dive in. Sitting at home for weeks had made me realize how much I actually enjoyed my job. A few days after returning to work, I got a text from Aunt Linda. "Just had lunch with your cousin Emma. Set the record straight about everything. She sends her love and says to call her sometime." More messages like that came over the next few weeks. Various relatives reaching out, apologizing for believing my parents' story, offering support. It was nice, but also strange. These were people I saw maybe once every few years at family gatherings. Their opinions, while appreciated, didn't really change my day-to-day life. What did matter were the friends who'd shown up when I needed them. Rachel and Jess had been my rocks, but others had stepped up too. My neighbor, Mr. Chen, had started bringing me groceries once a week. My college friend Alicia, who lived across town, had sent care packages. Even my barista at the local coffee shop had kept my favorite muffin aside for me when I'd finally managed to hobble there. One evening, about 3 months after the accident, I was having dinner with Rachel and Jess at my place when Rachel asked, "Have you heard anything from your parents or sister?" I shook my head. "Not since I blocked their numbers. Aunt Linda says they're still bad-mouthing me to anyone who'll listen." "Does that bother you?" Jess asked gently. I thought about it, honestly. Not as much as I expected. It's like, once I accepted that they'll never change, it stopped hurting so much. Rachel raised her glass. "To toxic family members, may they stay blocked forever." We all laughed and clinked glasses. That night after they left, I stood on my balcony, looking at the city lights. My leg was healing well, only giving me trouble when I pushed myself too hard or when rain was coming. The physical pain was fading, and surprisingly, so was the emotional pain. For years, I'd tried to earn my family's love and approval. I'd babysat whenever Diane asked, listened to my mother's criticisms without complaint, accepted that I would always be second best to my sister. The broken leg had forced me to say no for once, and that had changed everything. As spring turned to summer, I found myself embracing my new freedom. I joined a book club that met Wednesday evenings, something I could never have done when I was at Diane's beck and call for babysitting. I signed up for a weekend cooking class, started dating again, and even planned a solo trip to the coast for the fall. Occasionally, I thought about Tyler. He was just a kid caught in the middle of all this. I hoped my parents were at least being kind to him while they watched him. Maybe someday, when he was older, we could have a relationship separate from his parents. I'd like that. One Saturday morning in July, almost 6 months after my accident, I was at the farmer's market when I thought I glimpsed Diane in the crowd. My heart raced for a moment, but then the woman turned, and it wasn't her. I was surprised to realize I felt disappointed. Some small part of me had hoped it was her, that maybe she'd changed, that she wanted to apologize. But that was unlikely. People like my sister and parents rarely admitted they were wrong. They'd probably go to their graves believing I was the selfish one who had wronged them. And that was okay. I couldn't control what they thought or said about me. I could only control my own actions and choices. That evening, I met up with friends for dinner at a new restaurant downtown. As I looked around the table at these people who genuinely cared about me, who had shown up when I needed them, who respected my boundaries, who loved me for who I was, I felt truly grateful. 2 weeks later, Aunt Linda called with news. "Your mother's been telling people you reached out begging for reconciliation, but she refused." I laughed. "That's creative. I haven't unblocked their numbers." "I figured as much," she said. "How are you doing, really?" "I'm good," I said, realizing I meant it, better than I'd been in a long time. After we hung up, I made myself a cup of hot chocolate, still my comfort drink of choice, and settled on the couch with a book. My leg was almost completely healed now, with only occasional stiffness. Life wasn't perfect. Work was stressful sometimes, dating had its ups and downs, and my apartment still needed a new coat of paint. But for the first time in my life, I felt at peace. I wasn't waiting for a phone call demanding my time, wasn't bracing for criticism, wasn't making myself smaller to avoid rocking the boat. I was just Monica, imperfect, healing, and finally free to live life on my own terms. Sometimes the worst accidents lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes you have to break before you can heal properly. And sometimes, the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into.